cotton candy grapes. Just real quick here while we're on the topic. Okay, Trader Joe's is a grocery store known for their organic and, they like to be all natural and all that kind of stuff. But then they sell cotton candy grapes. You can't tell me that's organic.
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 16 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hey fellas.
What's up, guys? I've been doing a little spring cleaning around the house, and not just like cleaning the house. Sure, we go through the
like
kids. Decluttering, all that kind of stuff. My wife's been getting rid of kids' clothes and stuff that no longer fits or won't fit the next time we have to wear long sleeves and all that kind of stuff. But I've been decluttering the bourbon bottles.
Nice.
All right, so I look over here, and I was thinking about this the other night. I look at Steven has about 10 bottles with 1 or 2 pours left in
They
there.
are hanging on.
And it is killing me. Like, it just drives me nuts. Like,
No, I'm making a point now. See, I have 2 bottles sitting in the sink.
Okay.
I'm working on a third.
Well, and that's another thing. He doesn't get rid of empty bottles. Like, for me, though, like, if a bottle gets below about half full, I'm like, man, let's just go ahead and power through this thing and finish it. Like, I hate having bottles sitting around, regular bottles, everyday kind of stuff that sitting around like, man, let's just finish it. Like the Woodford Rye, when I brought that home the other day, the New Riv, some of those that by the time we got to the bottom, I'm like, let's just finish this thing and throw it away. 2 less bottles I have in my house.
I have noticed that I've been doing the same thing, and I don't know that it's coincided with spring, but I do think that's respectable because spring cleaning kind of drives me nuts, so maybe you've got it correct. Where when your wife's over there rifling through clothes and doing all that stuff, you're just like, hey, I can finish these bottles of bourbon. It makes it a little bit more tolerable, right?
To me, there's no more satisfying thing, and I do this even in my life and other things, is like I love throwing things away.
I'm the exact opposite. That's like my wife loves to throw things away, and I collect everything. I am one of those collectors, so you would hate me because I'm just like, there'll be a sign from God knows when. I don't know how long I've had this sign. It's sitting in the garage. And she's like, can we throw this away? And I'm like, no, we have to keep it.
I
So
just
it can
throw
stay
it
on
out.
the rack.
I throw it out. I throw things out. My wife doesn't listen to this.
Yeah.
I throw things out in the garage that are away all the time that she'll never even notice.
She didn't even know. So
I look at it and be like, look, we've had this thing sitting in here for 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out.
Well, I think we might have to contact her, tell her to listen.
Yeah.
This past week and say.
Probably Friday morning she'll be listening, so.
Yeah.
It's going to get you.
I guess we'll find out on Saturday when I got to dig through the garbage to find all the stuff I've been throwing away.
Oh, my goodness.
But,
you'd be in big trouble.
But, but bottles, though, seriously, like a Maker's bottle or a New Riff bottle or something that, you're almost done with, just go ahead and finish it off and throw it in the recycler and don't set it in your sink and just let it sit there like Steven does.
It make room in my cabinet for all the stuff on the counter now.
Well, early on in our bourbon journey, like I was good with Steven and, he wanted to save his Blanton's bottle and stuff like that. That's cool, you know. Like I that's respectable. Blanton's is a unique bottle and, and it's pretty hard to get for some people, but like he's got a Maker's bottle just sitting in there and like.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason for that.
I'm looking right over there. We got the Maker's bottle. What else is in there?
Cask strength.
It's cask strength.
Oh, it is the old label cask strength.
Okay.
So they don't make those
All right.
anymore, but still, come on, man.
I don't have a basement sink to put my bottles in, but if I did, my wife would be after me, man. I'll tell you what. I'm already in trouble for half the stuff I leave laying around the house. So, if I start
maybe I can
bottles
just,
up,
collect all my bottles and take a big picture of it just sitting there.
And then also just with the Blanton's bottle sitting there, Anthony brought over a little bit on that same note there. He brought a Blanton's over with about 3 or 4 pours left in it there. Maybe not even that much.
Yeah.
And so I had a little bit of that before we started this thing. And one of my things that me and my buddy Dallas, we talk about all the time is with Blanton's is like, man, it's so good that anything you drink after that always kind of ruins the night for you. So I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out here. I poured that and I'm like, man, that's so good. It's going to be hard to top that tonight.
Well, we'll see.
Well,
it's got to be the last thing you drink for me on a night,
Well, there's a tiny bit left, so maybe you'll have time to have a little bit more of that.
Yeah, there's a little bit left, so we'll see.
Well, let's hope it doesn't affect your judgment tonight, because tonight we have a bottle, Thomas S. Moore Cabernet Sauvignon Cast.
Wait, how'd you say it? Sauvignon?
Thomas S. Moore Cabernet Sauvignon.
I thought he had some kind of, he's like a wine
Yeah, it sounds like
sommelier or
you know
something.
that you were a connoisseur, that you knew exactly what you were doing, and so I respect that. But this is
I wasn't. I had never heard it said like that.
You just heard, what, you're a cab?
Yeah, cab. I mean,
Yeah.
Matthew Fox cab. That's all I know how to
There
say.
you go.
So
That's all you buy.
yeah.
Well, this bottle is coming to us from the Barton Distillery, so that should be familiar to you guys, which is owned by Sazerac, which also owns Buffalo Trace. We've already reviewed some of their products, the Sazerac Rye. We actually reviewed the 1792 small batch. And so the bottle date is 2020, and the ABV on this bottle is 47.65 or 95.3 proof. That's one thing you're always going to get from Barton is very weird to the percentage. They always have some weird proofs.
Get
on
the
their
radio
bottles.
station proof.
Yeah, radio station proof.
95.3.
This is a non-age stated bourbon or a finished bourbon, but it is rumored to be, or it's said on a tag, I think, 5 to 7 years, plus they age an extra 2 to 5 years in the actual Cabernet cask. The mash bill is not stated, but all of us kind of agreed from smelling it when we poured it that we think that it's probably the 1792 standard mash bill that's probably going into these aged barrels. It's got an MSRP of $70.
So I got a little soft spot in my heart for Thomas More. You know, I graduated from Thomas More College. That's kind of unique, right? Spelled different. It's named after the English saint Thomas More.
Oh,
Not-
I was going to say, I thought it was
not,
named after the bottle guy.
Not this Thomas More.
Okay.
This is Thomas More. Mine is Thomas More. But I thought it was cool though. Like when that came out, I was like, you know, because everybody always spelled Thomas More wrong, anyways. So anyway, so I thought that was cool when they brought this out. The bottle is one of the most unique bottles I think we've seen. It's got that kind of like tall, skinny, square, skyscraper-looking bottle.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't look like it has 750 milliliters in it. I don't think so.
But it follows the 1792 design
Oh, yeah, it's got that,
policy.
like-
It's very Art Deco.
Yeah, it's got that Art Deco, no doubt about that. It's got a good cork. I noticed that early on. Good solid, you know, real cork, but not a cheap cork. It's got a horse on it, silhouette horse. And as I read on the back, it talks about how Thomas S. More was big into horses and horse racing, which ironically, that's not a racehorse on the front. But it's got a lot of writing on the back. Ton of
Yeah,
writing.
probably more writing that we've seen.
You know,
on
basically
any other bottle.
it says, you know, Thomas S. More ran a distillery where Barton is now, and then they aged this in regular bourbon barrels for several years, and then aged it in casks for several more years. As you get down to the bottom, the margins start to get skinnier and skinnier. So I don't know how you set that on like Word, you know, but but they did a good job of it because the top is like half-inch margins on the top, but by the time you get to the bottom, it's like 1-inch margins. But anyway, I do think it's cool. Like for a good bottle to sit on there, this is good looking. That'll, you know, we had the discussion with our wives the other day when we were at that bar that, you know, what were the best looking bottles of just knowing nothing about bourbon, pointing out good looking bottles on the shelves. They didn't have this one there, but I bet if they did, it would have been one that stood out probably.
We do have to compliment them on the cork seal. The perforated foil is very BTAC level.
Oh yeah, they spent some money on that.
Yeah.
That was one of those ones where you kind of like, it's got the foil on top of the cap.
I think it looks good. The one thing that stood out to me in the description of the back that kind of bothered me a little bit, you know, I'm trying to be understanding. Is this the first permanent extension they've had of their line? I think it is, of 1792 in a while. They've always done different finishes and things like that, but this is probably the most that they've done.
Since Sazerac bought them?
I think so. I mean, I
Oh,
could be
they got
wrong
Fireball.
about that. Yeah,
Does that
well,
count?
Fireball. But they have on there that Thomas S. More started the distillery. He did all these wonderful things, but then they sort of say that this Cabernet finished bourbon would be in the spirit of what he would have done or what he would have been proud of. And I'm thinking to myself, how do they know that?
Well, I mean, why didn't he do it then when he had it before then?
Way back in whatever year it was, I'm sure he was getting those cab casks and filling them up with bourbon because that seems like something that they would have done back then, right? I mean, so I think that it's a little bit of embellishing, but it is definitely a really nice looking bottle. Other than that small detail, where I'm like, what do they put on the back of the other ones? Because there's other finishes as well that come from the series.
Yeah, there's Chardonnay, this one, and the port.
Sherry.
Sherry was Sherry. Okay.
Sherry. You know her, right? Sherry.
Yeah, she's big in the cask.
Yeah, she is.
bourbons.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a mascot at Thomas More when we were there. I mean, we had a mascot. We were the Saints, but we didn't have like a walking mascot, like a they do now, and I see it on Instagram all the time. And his name is Tommy Moe, so if I refer to this as Tommy Moe throughout the night, that's what I'm gonna do.
I heard Tommy Moe is big into wine.
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now, Thomas More College was big into the alcoholic beverages, so I can promise you that. That's the thing. Look, I love my time there, and it was full of rich Catholic people. It was quite the
Party thing.
Yeah, and it was quite the harsh reality when I got out of college that I couldn't drink the nice stuff. And I didn't even drink bourbon then. Like, I was drinking beer, and it was so we got into college. You're drinking Bud Light and all the nice stuff, and then you get out of college and you don't have any money because you're trying to find a job and all that stuff, and then you're stuck drinking Natty Light. My roommate was in. He had come with me from Thomas More to Lexington, and he was in law school, and so we were like, man, we can't drink this like Natty Light stuff, So we found a nice median in the Natty Light bottles. Okay, so you're drinking Natty Light out of a bottle.
I didn't know this was
that.
a thing.
I mean, it's a thing.
You always get the bottles when you want to have a good night, when you really are feeling like you can spend extra money. Yeah,
Exactly. So anyway, Thomas More bourbon will probably bring me back to some good college stories while we're at this. So shout out to my groomsmen at my wedding and one of my good friends from college, Chase Runyon, who now runs Winya Bay Brewing Company in Georgetown, South Carolina. Got his hat on this week, had it on last week too. So
very good.
I saw he did a barrel pick the other day through, which I don't know how he got into it, but whatever. He got to do one with Makers, private selects.
The new staves and everything?
Yeah, I guess. It's kind of ironic because he was a bourbon drinker in college and I was the beer drinker, and now look, his career is beer and I'm doing a bourbon podcast, so.
That's pretty cool.
Well, guys, should we go on some notes on this?
Sounds good. I was going to say, before we do the notes, we got to look at the color, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you were swirling this thing around like it was a toilet bowl earlier.
So it's been aged in a wine barrel, and as you swirl, you can actually see remnants of the red wine.
Yeah, you can. You're right. No, you're right.
As you swirl, you can see it in there. It's the light's picking it up. It's very cool.
And we smelled it right away, when you open the bottle.
Yeah, you could smell it. Smell like communion.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the neck of the bottle, right? It's a skinny neck.
Mm-hmm.
And so that smell really kind of hits you when you opened it. It smelled a lot of wine, but once we poured it into the Glencairns.
Now, before we get started on this, out of the three of us, how much cask expression have we tried? I think this may be my first.
Oh, really?
I mean,
you're talking about like finished stuff?
Yeah, finished bourbons.
I mean, the only thing I've ever really had is like a toasted. I had the rum finished rye, the Basil Hayden. I had that, and that was very sweet, and that was a lot of rum. There was a lot of rum in that.
Yeah, no, I have actually tried a fair amount of probably a handful, maybe 5 or 6 different wine cask finishes. And so I think it's pronounced Sauterne, that one, sherry. Cognac's not, well, technically is wine, I think. Isn't cognac technically wine?
Yeah, it's like a brandy, right?
Yeah, it's like a very high proof wine. Yeah. So I've had a couple. So this won't be my first time tasting a finished product.
Oh, Stephen, we had the absinthe finished at the Peerless Distillery.
Yeah, they had
that was disgusting.
Absinthe. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty
cool. Didn't that have like a lemon
idea.
flavor?
Yeah, it's pretty cool in theory.
Definitely in theory.
Oh, wasn't very good.
No,
okay.
Wasn't that good.
Well, I guess as we're starting to smell this, I know that from some of the other finished products I have, that it's not as pungent is the best way to put it. And so I've talked to quite a few bourbon drinkers that just to test the idea of having a bourbon finished in any kind of wine cask or things like that. And so even if they might not like it, it's definitely on the rise, and I think that's why we see this line extension from 1792.
Well, there's only so many ways you can. I mean, bourbon's just bourbon. Like it's all going to kind of taste the same. So you got to do something. At some point to kind of mix it up a little bit.
I don't know how much you guys pay attention to some of these local places, but like there's this distillery. What's it? Three Boys Farm with Good Times Distilling, and all they really do is finish bourbon and different kind of stuff. They got like apple brandy casks and all this other stuff, and basically every time you turn around someone's talking about a new finish from them. So it's almost like they are finishing almost like Stoli has vodkas and different flavors and stuff like that. Or
you've probably like you've hit on it before about how we've talked about how much we hate these companies that just pop up and take all their sourced bourbon from MGP or somewhere and So there's only so much of that, and it's all going to kind of taste the same. So this is kind of like their way of, making theirs taste different than somebody else's. If we buy a 5-year MGP barrel and somebody else buys a 5-year MGP barrel and we put them out, they're going to taste the same probably, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's do something different. Let's finish it.
So what are we thinking, gentlemen, on the nose?
I feel it's very interesting. You pick up bourbon notes, but then you also can pick up a little bit of the wine in there. It's like these two different drinks in one glass.
I think the wine kind of like gets rid of the alcohol smell,
Yeah, I think it's smooth. Probably smooths
Makes it
out.
smoother.
Yeah, one thing I'm not getting is a ton of ethanol, and I know we've had our fair share of pours over the past, couple of months where we've smelled that right out of the glass, but not on this one at all. Maybe it is hiding it.
One thing that this thing has, maybe the combination of the wine and the bourbon reveal, is a very nice vanilla note. Very nice.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, to me, very like a warm vanilla.
Got a little caramel there, but that warm vanilla note is just coming through.
Yeah, it's probably more overpowering than anything I've tasted with that, and not in a bad way at all.
You're getting those dark fruits. I'm picking up cherry specifically, but there's other fruit in there that I'm just not picking out.
This could be because I had some cheesecake with berries on it earlier in the day, but I definitely maybe like a darker berry, like a blackberry or something like that. But definitely the dark fruits are in there. And I don't know, what do you guys think? Did you, an initial nose of this, I feel like this is probably the 1792 standard mash bill, because I feel like when we go back to what we smelled back then, when we reviewed that, I caught all that on the front end, but it's just definitely more developed and complex than that, for sure.
The mash bill has a little bit of rye in it.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Any sort of the rye.
I think it's pretty mellow. It's not super spicy.
Which I guess is the several years it's spent in the wine barrel.
Yeah, so they say 2 to 5 years.
2 to 5 years. I guess that's per variant of it.
Well, I can tell you most of the finished products I have had are usually like 6 months to a year at most.
Oh, this blows it out.
So yeah, this is definitely aged longer.
Now, since you've had the most experience, can you smell those extra years in it right off the bat?
Not really, but I feel like there's going to be heavy variation there because it just depends on what kind of cask people are using, right? So I know barrel bourbon, not to bring them up in the middle of talking about Thomas S. More tonight, but barrel bourbon's in a lot of experimentation with like aging all different types of casks, and some other companies have as well. And there are times where I open one of their offerings, maybe we'll try one down the road, where I can smell everything in there. I smell like the cask, I smell alcohol, I smell like it kind of, no offense to them, but certain ones I've tried smell like a mess compared to this. This smells like it's very complete.
One thing that is missing that we always pick up is any sort of barrel.
Yeah, there's a very lack of oaky flavor in this, which I'm not sure what causes that. I guess if I wish I knew more about wine aging and what that extra barreling might do to it, takes away the harshness.
Now, I think it's rumored these wine barrels are coming from California.
Maybe they're using that fine Kentucky wine that we get
from the hills.
From the hills,
So we're going for our first taste?
I'm ready. Very good. I was instantly trying to find where the cab flavors would come in, and for me it's like mid-tongue and like on the outsides of the tongue, but I did peek online at a couple of early reviews of this, and someone said they tasted it and it dried out their entire mouth. Like, that's not the experience I'm getting at all here. This is
a semi-sweet cab. Pretty standard, I would think.
I don't get anything wine related till the end.
Yeah. And what this does, I think the lightness of the wine is really showing itself in the bourbon. Like, I feel like you can taste kind of the lightness of the cab coming through.
I agree. I mean, to me, just on the first sip, I think it's great. I mean, usually when I taste the bourbon, I can pick out something I don't like. I'm not necessarily doing that on the first sip, so I don't know. I'm still getting more caramel and vanilla and
butterscotch.
A little bit of butterscotch, the taste. What do you think, Michael? Anything?
I just get no burn.
No
That's
burn
all I
at
care
all.
about.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's nice.
Now, how do you think?
I was gonna say, I actually think that this is one that my wife does not drink bourbon at all, and I think that I could get her to try this.
That was my exact next question.
Really?
I was gonna say, now, do you think we can get the ladies?
I say we talked about this, about letting our wives try it because they love
cabs.
They love cab, and so maybe I thought maybe they might like to try this, which we can still do that sometime. I don't know. I was kind of surprised. Steven has this one and the port finish Thomas S. More bourbon, and I know he had been chasing the port finish 1792 for several years, which of course now it has skyrocketed, and there's No, there ain't none of us touching it now. Not in any of our careers.
It's like $800 or something.
Yeah, something ridiculous. So when we got the port, I thought that would be the first thing he would go to when we decided to try one of these. So the cab, and the port would be really, really sweet, I imagine. But
well, I think we chose this because we all drink cab, so it gives some sort of reference to go off of than the port. Like I've had port a couple of times.
Well, I'm not really a wine person, so the only thing I probably have ever drank is cab.
Not to get too far off topic, but if you ever go and visit the...
Can you go too far off topic on this episode?
That's true.
Mash up.
If you guys ever visit the Biltmore,
okay,
and you go to their winery and you do their tasting, they give you this fold-out pamphlet, and they have all their wines. There might be a tier that you might have to pay to get some like their reserve stock, but you sit there with someone working, and they pour you, and then you talk about it. It's a fun experience. I'm not joking you. We must have went through 12+ wines.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were making notes on there. You go to the gift shop, and you make great purchase decisions at that point.
Well, I love that because I always appreciate when you have a place where you're doing a tasting. We've all been there, right? And you're like, oh, you should be tasting apricot, or you should be tasting this, and you're sitting there and you're like, I'm not tasting anything. But then when you're working, when you have a wine tasting like that, where you're tasting everything you should be tasting, or they tell you are, and you're like, oh,
well, it wasn't that involved, but...
Oh, I was giving them too much credit.
Yeah, but it was one-on-one, and I think we went back and forth on a couple of the bottles 2 or 3 times. Like it's like, let's go back for this one, see if we really like it. And they were happy for you, a sample, and we ended up buying, a handful of bottles probably when we were there. Because there's some that only you can get there. They're not at stores around the country. So,
wow.
And that's one that we really like is only offered at the...
Along those lines, you can walk the strip of Gatlinburg and try the free wine tastings there too, and
and the moonshine.
And you can get cotton candy wine, and basically all their wine is just sugar flavored juice. Like it is just sweet. I don't try it. I don't get any of that in any of that.
Is that what they talk about the strawberry wine?
I think we're overthinking that.
Yeah, how long does it take you to get a headache? Like 2 tastings down to the strip.
If you don't get a headache, your blood sugar is gonna spike, and you're gonna end up at Blunt Memorial Hospital there in Gatlinburg.
You're pretty tough on Tennessee sometimes, aren't you?
Listen, we've ended up at Blunt Memorial Hospital before because my son threw something at my daughter at a cabin one time. And cut her eye open, and so we ended up... But they were great. The people were great there.
Yeah.
Blunt Memorial Hospital is not somewhere I go to, get my cancer treatment, but, I think...
serviceable, right?
For a serviceable, for a cut under the eye, they were great. I am a little tough on Tennessee, but I love Gatlinburg.
Yeah,
so.
we go there enough. Are you getting any chocolate out of this?
This
is starting to open up for me, and I don't know...
You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I am really liking the way this is opening up. It's it's turning into one of my most favorite things that we've tasted in recent history. I don't want to go too far overboard here. We have a little bit more before I go.
Altogether, it's a nice aged product. We're talking anywhere from 7 to 12 years, between the 2 processes. Probably a 10-year-old product, average out. So
I got to be careful, too, because we all drink our fair amount of bourbon, and we like our bourbon straight up, And so sometimes I got to worry that I don't have shiny object syndrome, where I'm like, this tastes really good because it's different. Mm-hmm. And, I don't have a lot of variety in the stuff that I'm drinking all the time. It's some variation of some distillery that's putting out some different mash bill of bourbon, but it's definitely straight bourbon. It's not finished or anything like that. But all the finished products I've tasted, I know you guys don't taste a lot of them, but I'm digging this.
Yeah, I don't try it. Like I said, I've not had very many finished bourbons.
Well, fellas, would you pass, try, or buy on the Thomas S. Moore Cabernet Sauvignon?
I feel like you guys are looking at me based on what I just said.
You've been talking the whole time, so
is
go
that
ahead.
What it is? Oh, God.
This has been the worst kept secret of the whole night right here, so go ahead.
I would buy it. I would buy it 10 times over.
There we go.
In fact, I actually have a bottle of this, full disclosure.
And the port.
What's that?
And the port as well.
And the port, thanks to Michael.
That's what I'm here for.
Yep. And I thought if we taste this tonight and I don't like it, then maybe I might sell it.
Port.
Sell it
that's true.
or trade it for something. And now I'm so far away from that.
You're keeping finish this bottle.
I'm keeping it. You're gonna have to wrestle that bottle away from me when I leave the house. I'm gonna take it with me, and you're gonna have to wrestle it away from me. But no, I'm definitely a buy on this. Even at $80, I like it a lot. So I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say because maybe I've just fallen in love with it. And,
Years ago I started collecting the 1792 variants. I haven't gotten them all, but I've done the best I can. And the port was always something that I heard that was very good. It was a cask blend and all that stuff. So when we got these, it's basically the same product, I would think, or very close to. And I'm very happy with it. Opening the port is going to be pretty exciting, I believe.
I think so.
So, coming from the cab, I don't know what the Chardonnay would taste like because it might be too fruity, but it may be good with a heavy. It might really lighten up the weight of the bourbon.
Yeah, if I can get my hands on it, I passed on it. I saw the Chardonnay.
Oh, I had it in my hand, but I put it down.
Yeah, and now I'm kind of kicking myself over that. So I really think that
I bought this instead, or I could have bought both of them.
Well, it might be worth a shot going over to the place where I got the port the other day, see if it's still sitting there.
Oh,
might
yeah?
be, I don't know.
Okay.
That's crazy. That port sat there for
4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
So I'm a buy.
As they say on the bourbon groups, call it a honey hole, right?
Yeah.
Anybody got any honey holes? Right.
Get them honey hole.
Well, if we do, we're not going to tell you.
Can you tell the group of 20,000 people where your honey hole is?
There you
All right.
go.
So anyway, I guess it's my turn, right?
It is, and we're...
So here's my thought is I don't have a lot of experience in finished bourbons, so I would try, but I would like to have all of these lined up and try them all.
So you're telling me we have to do a flight if we can get our hands on
You know
them?
what? I'm not saying, I'm not asking anybody
Looks
to...
like you're on the lookout for a Chardonnay then.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Well, what's the deal with the sherry one? Because we didn't know there was a fourth
Right, that was
one.
I guess that one just
It must be brand new because
came out or something.
we saw a picture of all 4 of them together.
Yeah, that was just this over the weekend
Yeah,
or something.
so,
It wasn't that long ago.
So it might be brand new. We haven't checked the website to see
Yeah,
if it's
no, I
new,
haven't checked,
but
but-
I guess that's their next flavor they're coming out with.
That's probably the one I've had the most because I feel like they've been finishing bourbons and sherry casks.
that's
And
a
it's
lot of
funny because
people.
no one's drinking sherry, right? They're cooking with it,
Right,
right?
they're cooking with it.
Yeah, so...
Which was going to ask what does it taste like? And don't say sherry.
No.
I think a lot of people think sherry tastes like cherry
Oh, yeah?
because it rhymes.
There you go, right? I just remember the one that I had was a Bellmead cask sherry was the last one I had. That was a 9-year-old, and it was good, but it was very ethanol heavy. And I think they only finished in the casks for 6 months. No disrespect to them. And then again, it had a nice flavor to it. I remember liking it, but not liking it enough to think I would go buy another bottle. So when I talk about finished products having a lot of variation to them, I almost feel like people take bad bourbon and then they finish it. This is good bourbon that's finished.
Yeah, we pretty much know what this is.
Yeah.
So you all have not had the 5th version of this yet, which is they partnered with that Gatlinburg winery to have the cotton candy flavored finished bourbon.
I'll be on the lookout.
Oh, I'm telling you what, that'll be so good.
You might be able to pair it with cotton candy grapes.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's probably what they're made out of.
Might be. You're right.
Expensive wine.
Oh, it probably would be. Cotton candy grapes. Just real quick here while we're on topic.
Yep.
Okay, Trader Joe's is a grocery store known for their organic and, they like to be all natural and all that kind of stuff. But then they sell cotton candy grapes. You can't tell me that's organic, right? There's somebody in some factory, in some lab, has made cotton candy grapes.
Maybe just grafting plants and stuff I know nothing about. That's probably what it is. I mean, you can't say it's not organic, right?
It's
as
organic
organic
somewhere.
as the pepperoni mac and cheese that they have there.
That's right.
I might be the only person that knows that Trader Joe's has pepperoni mac and cheese. So yeah.
Also, I
love their mac and cheese.
have
There you go.
I have no knowledge of this other than what I've seen on Facebook groups. But did you see where Costco in 1792, Barton have come up with they're putting out a bourbon now. Like Costco's got their own brand,
They're
Kirkland.
coming out barrel proof.
Yeah, it's like a
125.
But I mean, they make no bones about it. It's 1792. It's Barton.
Yeah.
Is that under their Kirkland label?
It's like their
Trader
newest.
Joe.
Oh, Trader Joe's.
No. This is Kirkland.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you serious?
Sorry, I changed.
No,
subjects.
I saw the label for
Well, Trader Joe's has one.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
125 proof.
But Kirkland is coming out with one.
Is it the
It's
same
going to be
bottle?
Barton too?
It's going to be Barton. I don't know if it's not the same bottle. It's Kirkland. But
Well, how much bourbon do they have over there?
I
They
don't
must
know.
have the most
Must have a
bourbon in
lot.
the world over there to be able to be doing stuff like that.
I mean, they got one less warehouse. We know that. So
Low blow, too soon.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TheMashupKY. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep it neat.